You're watching Reality Check, This Week in Rewind. Welcome to Reality Check, This Week in Rewind. I'm your host, Quinny B, and I'm just not going to waste any time this week. I'm going to hop right into the recap. This week, a show called Beyond the Pole premiered, and it's been pretty interesting, but a little hard to cover, I would say. When I think about the notes that I take on these shows, the things that I need to cover, this show is just lacking content for me. This is a show that has previously aired earlier this year on a smaller network, and then WeTV picked it up. So if you were to do a Google search, you could actually binge watch the entire season, which is about 8 episodes. The premise of the show is about the strategy to get strippers out of the strip club. It's trying to humanize these ladies as well as show that they have goals, ambitions, and also to take away the rose-colored glasses to make the stripper lifestyle seem a little bit less glamorous. So each of them have their own journeys, their own careers, their own goals, and things that they like to pursue. And it's supposed to be motivational. And the person behind the show or that's helping them is this lady, Stormy Wellington, aka Coach Stormy on Instagram. And that actually is what makes the show hard for me to watch, is Stormy's delivery. I think that she comes with the best intentions. I actually think that she really does want to help these ladies, but she comes off as arrogant. She speaks down to them. And, you know, I don't know how you're going to help people if you are constantly belittling them. Either way, if you haven't heard about it, a quick Google search, enjoy. Another show that we're going to go ahead and recap really quickly is The Real Blac Chyna. While I am enjoying watching the show, I'm happy to see her get out of using her mom and their relationship to get viewership. So now we're actually getting to see the quote unquote business of Blac Chyna. This episode focuses on her agreeing to do a segment on the Wendy Williams show. If you know Wendy Williams, you know that Wendy Williams has talked cash trash about Blac Chyna. Wendy Williams does gossip, so why wouldn't she? So this is Blac Chyna's opportunity to kind of rebrand herself, make amends with Wendy Williams, and also kind of, I would say, get herself out there in a more mainstream way, because as many people that don't like Wendy, she's mainstream and she can kind of introduce you to other audiences or other demographics. Chyna meets with her team. They lay out a plan with her publicist Freshie, Ashton, Treasure, everyone's there. She likes the first flight in and first flight out, so they land on a red eye in New York super early. Once they get into the Airbnb, it's time for Chyna to get her nails done, to prep for the next day, as well as go over the questions and things like that. Well, because it's been all hands on deck and Chyna's team is actually pretty small, Freshie hasn't really had an opportunity to do what his job entails. Now, one thing that I do get out of this is that Freshie and Jamal are kind of a team. But this is also their very first time working with Chyna, and so it's a learning experience for all parties involved. Chyna wants Wendy Williams to apologize to her mom, and I mean, come on, that's not going to happen. Chyna also finds out that Wendy Williams' team sent over about 30 to 35 questions for them to look over, and Freshie went ahead and approved them without Chyna seeing them. This upsets her, and then not to mention that Chyna's best friend Treasure, who says that she's played all of these roles for Chyna, will not stop interjecting. She won't let Freshie do his job. And so he gets worked up. Like, it becomes a full-on like screaming match. He's just frustrated because he's here to do his business and Chyna can't speak or can't even make any executive decisions because Treasure is her proxy. Freshie and Treasure have a very big blowout, and then Chyna's able to reel everything back in and everything calms down. They're able to go over the questions. Unfortunately, we don't get to hear any of the questions, but seems like everything went well. We fast forward to the next day and they wake Chyna up at 6:15. She specifically asked to be woken up at 6:30 or awakened at 6:30. That 15 minutes for her is just a big deal. Her food wasn't there and her hairstylists weren't there, which are 2 requirements prior to waking her up. She doesn't like her outfit. She doesn't like her makeup application. Chyna is just on a warpath. And this is actually probably the first time where I've really seen similarities of Chyna and Tokyo, because Chyna's attitude is just so nasty. And the way that she goes off and she's screaming at people and she's in the bathroom crying, the meltdown just seems completely unnecessary. And Chyna's thing was, you guys woke me up an hour early to ensure that I was going to be on time, but I'm always on time. I didn't need you to do that. Of course, they're not going to give us all of that juice and all of that arguing in one episode. So we stop right there in the middle of Blac Chyna's meltdown. Now, let's go ahead and tackle one of my favorite shows, which is Grown Up Hip Hop. We've kind of been seeing things come to a head, and things just kind of continue to build during this episode. We open at the artist boot camp, and the turnout is great. Deb is brought to tears. Brad is excited. I mean, of course, it's like American Idol. So you get the good and you get the bad and you get a little bit of ugly. But either way, it means that you've done a great job with promotion and that this has the opportunity to be super lucrative for all parties involved. One person that's missing is Miss Remarkable. She says she didn't want to audition. So, I mean, she's not showing up. We cut to Tami and Waka working in the studio on her upcoming project. I believe it's an EP, and he's supposed to be her producer. She's, I guess, signed to him. And one of the things, I guess, that's been a source of conflict for them is Waka's career, his quote unquote retirement. Because her idea of retirement means that you're no longer performing, you're not doing shows, you're definitely not releasing new music. She wants to be his sole focus. She wants him to invest in her career the way that she helped him invest in his. This scene, although it's very small, it becomes important later on in the episode because Waka doesn't hold up his end of the bargain, which is going to be a major source of conflict, not only in their professional relationship, but in their personal relationship. I mean, they always say you can't mix business with pleasure. We cut back to the artist boot camp. And let's be clear, all of the people have already auditioned. It's pretty much over. But Remarkable shows up because she says that she wants to show her respect to them and explain to them why she wasn't going to audition. So she shows up. Deb and Brad are kind of apprehensive, but they're like, okay, cool, we'll listen. Remarkable comes in to explain why she didn't want to audition, which basically what I got out of it is that she felt like she deserved VIP treatment. They came to her show to see what she was doing, so why should she audition? And they just kind of want her to know that she's not special and that if this was a test, she failed it because it's about showing your willingness to grind and get your feet dirty and even do things that you don't necessarily want to do. Ultimately, Remarkable says going to an open audition could hurt her brand because she has so many other things in the works. Keep in mind, Remarkable has said on social media that all of this was for a storyline, that this wasn't even just an artist boot camp, but it was a boot camp for recovering side chicks. It was just an overall branding opportunity for Deb and Brad. People are coming at her on social media and she is not with it. Shania, who's JD's daughter, who we barely ever see now, is finally turning 21. She's like the baby of the group. So she's super excited, of course. And JD's gift to her is a major birthday party at the Gold Room. But you can't have a birthday party without having promo for it. So she has this entire photo shoot planned, and that's also JD's gift to her. She and Anaya are very close friends. So Anaya stops by to spill the tea. She stops by to tell her about this whole Brandon firefighter family dinner, as well as talk about Bow Wow and Corey, this new girl that he's dating. The concern is that, once again, he's fallen in love and oh too quickly without even knowing anything about this girl. A couple of facts on Corey that Anaya's been able to dig up in this short time is that Corey dated Fetty Wap, and then she also has a record for terroristic threats. We cut to Waka in the car with a friend of his. He's sharing information about a last-minute gig, the High Life Festival out in California. He was invited to perform. He's like, of course I'm going to go do it, but he doesn't want to tell Tami. What did make sense at the time was why he didn't want to tell Tami. It's like, just be honest with your wife. She'd actually be more understanding. It's the fact that you are moving very sneakily and not sharing it with her that's going to make her snap. But as we see later on in the show, it's actually because the performance was during her studio session. And so he knew that he was going to get cussed out either way. But I still think that being upfront about it would have saved him a lot of strife. BT and Remarkable meet up to talk about what happened at the audition. She's just telling him, I felt like I shouldn't audition. It could ruin my brand. And remind you, BT works for Streets 94.5. So he's in the industry. He tells her, I really think you made a bad decision. You should probably just set up a meeting with them and try to clear the air. So she follows his advice and sets up a meeting with Brad. Well, actually with her management and then Brad and Deb. Over at Bow's, he's in even more drama because Corey was very upfront with, once you have sex with me, we go together. So clearly we get to see that they've crossed that line, but he is still not ready for exclusivity. So she's just like, so I told you what it was and you did it and now you don't want it. I don't understand. He says that he likes the idea of options, even though he's not going to partake in it. Now she's dumb as hell if she believes that. Tami and her mom are in the studio waiting on Waka. And of course he's a no-show because he's at the High Life Festival. Now what I don't understand is how he thought that he could get away with this, being that it's the age of social media. People are going to record your performance. They're going to hashtag it and they're going to do it in real time. That's exactly what happened. And so while Tami's doing a quick scroll down Instagram, she sees it and she goes off. Ironically, she calls him as he's stepping off the stage, so he's able to answer the phone, and boy, it is not pretty. This episode closes, of course, with a major conflict. Remarkable, Deb, and Brad all meet up. They meet up in the studio, and Remarkable has her 2 managers, a publicist. It's like her entire team. And Deb and Brad are saying that that's going to be her downfall because it's difficult to work with a new artist that claims to have a brand but hasn't developed anything when they have all these outside people or all these other people speaking on their behalf. What I really think happened is this management that she had there with her just chose the wrong vernacular when speaking to Deb and Brad and also speaking on Remarkable's behalf. She's talking about Remarkable felt attacked and degraded, just all these crazy things, which Remarkable never really said. Remarkable also doesn't stop her manager and correct it, and things just go left really quickly. Brad and Deb exit stage left because Brad has a nail appointment and she just does not have time. My personal opinion is that Remarkable let her management talk her out of an opportunity, even if it is for the camera or even if it is a fake boot camp. I think that those actually might be bridges that are permanently burned. Now let's talk Real Housewives of Potomac. We pick up right where we left off, and that's with Ashley and her aunt approaching her dad's door. What we find out is that her father opened the door and she goes, "Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm your daughter." And he closes the door. She says that he gave her the nastiest look. And although it did not go as she expected because she's standing outside the door, "Please open the door. Please talk to me. I'm your daughter." He's not here for it. What her Uncle Jim recommends, which is a very smart man, let's hurry up and get off of his property, before he calls the police. So that's what they do. They meet in a parking lot. Her aunt apologizes on behalf of her brother's actions, but she's happy that she did it, and they go their separate ways. Uncle Jim was also very clear about him not wanting Ashley to pursue this relationship, and so it kind of just shows that she definitely should have listened to Michael, and she definitely should have listened to Uncle Jim. She and her mother go back to their hotel room, and they kind of talk it out. Ashley states that she's happy that she did it because at least she got to see her father's face. She says that, she has his bone structure and it was just good to be able to put a face with the name. So if anything, I hope that she got closure. Back in Potomac, the ladies have several things going on. Robyn is finally ready for her open house to sell this house. So she's working on that. Monique is 8 weeks away from going into labor, so she and her household are prepping for that. Candace and her mom are working on repairing their relationship, so they're having a girls' day. Doing this flip for Robyn has been a major learning experience, and what she's realized is the amount of money that can be made just by owning a truck, because she's having to ship materials back and forth, have trucks come out and pick up the debris and the big trash cans. So she's thinking, why wouldn't I be my own contractor when it comes to that and have even more revenue coming in? I mean, it makes sense to me. So of course she has to have her partner in crime, Giselle, come out and support her. And they ask all of these questions and just kind of meet with the trucking company just so that they can kind of get their feet wet and understand what she's getting into. The trucks are very, very expensive, even one of the lower end older models. And so Robyn really does have to think about this before she decides to jump into it. Robyn shares that she wants to invite all of the ladies to her open house, which they're going to call a Sell-abration, S-E-L-L, abration, a play on words. And Giselle promises to be on her best behavior at Robyn's home. If you recall, Ashley shared some information that Monique shared with her about the way that she feels about Giselle. And we already know Giselle loves to stir the pot. That has been her role this season. But she promises not to disrespect her friend's business opportunity or celebration. Karen and her sister have a private ceremony to honor her parents where they say a prayer and they release white balloons. It's an actual very sweet moment for Karen. And as I've said before, I am really enjoying seeing Karen not be a part of the drama as much, but pull closer to her family. I feel like we're really getting to see the real Karen this season. And she's looking fabulous while doing it. Monique calls a specialist over to her house so that she, Chris, and the kids can learn about CPR in preparation for the new baby. I think that she's just covering her bases. You're 3 babies in, not saying that you don't need to know how to do CPR, but you don't need to know how to do CPR. I mean, you do, but do you really think that your kids are going to be interested in it? And as expected, her kids are babies. They're not ready to listen to that. They can't sit down. They're all over the place. Mama, look at me, talking all over the lady. And you can kind of see the woman get a little frustrated, but she handles it with so much grace. She just stops, waits, and waits for everyone to regroup. Chris kind of says, I don't think they're interested in saving lives right now, but it is a good lesson for mommy and daddy. Candace, her mom, and her sister, they all decide to dress alike and go out for a wine tasting and just kind of have a girls' day. Candace and her mom talk about therapy and the progress that they think that they're making. And Candace's baby sister just holds her mom's feet to the fire. She wastes no time just kind of letting her mom know where she can be overbearing, where she oversteps, because her mom is just very, I know myself. I know about myself. And it's a lot of talking under their breath as far as a response to their mother. But the baby sister is definitely the one that is no holds barred. And it's really refreshing to see her mom be checked, but in a different way, without the crying, without all of the emotion, and just with some bluntness and some gusto, because I really think that that's what Candace's mom needs. Karen has her friend Kia come over because now she finally has the packaging for La Dame, her fragrance that she says is kind of unisex. So they open some champagne, they celebrate, and they look at the packaging. Ashley's back in Potomac, and of course, the second she touches down, she has to see her husband and she has to fill him in on everything that happens in Atlanta. One thing that I will give Michael is that he does not say, I told you so. He goes, well, I love you, babe. I support you in every decision that you make. But it is clear that Ashley is heartbroken. She's so emotional, even with just trying to recount this story. It's the day of the open house and everything is beautiful. Robyn has really outdone herself. Monique, Ashley, Karen, everyone arrives. And everyone's there but Giselle. All the ladies are just kind of filling each other in on what's been going on in their lives. Ashley is telling them about her trip to Atlanta. The ladies are just catching up with one another. Giselle arrives, and as soon as Monique goes in to hug her, just, how are you doing, lady? Oh, you hugging me now? Oh, you like me now? The true Giselle comes out immediately. She's completely broken her promise to Robyn and has single-handedly hijacked what was supposed to be a celebratory moment. Things escalate quickly, the ladies get loud, and instead of Robyn going over and just telling them, hey, y'all need to leave or bring it down, she joins in on the mess. So she has one seller come over and she's trying to kind of sell him on the home, but the drama is happening like 5 feet away and he leaves. During all this drama, Ashley kind of gets called on the carpet, basically saying that she's playing telephone and delivering messages and she's actually the one that's stirring everything. And Bravo is running back the tapes. Now on to Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. We open right where we left off, and that's with Monique and April arguing. Now, what I think is the issue in the beginning is that no one's really hearing each other out. But once things finally start to calm down, Monique is able to really explain where her frustration comes from. And it's not that she wants Viz. It's not even that she cares. It is that she's being left in the dark. So that's why she says that no one can tell her about her baby daddy, right? Because her experience with him is completely different from April's experience, especially if you are only friends and you're only getting his side of the story, then you can't speak to her on him because they actually share a child together. April calms down. She understands because she has children with Omarion. So she knows exactly what it means to have conflict and be left out of the loop. They're in the middle of a whole child custody case. Apple Watts is back this season and she's back trying to be a new and improved woman. Yo-Yo, who's a hip-hop legend, is her mentor. And Yo-Yo has founded this school of hip-hop, so she's having a talent show for all of the people that are in her school of hip-hop. Apple Watts shows up to show some support, and this is where this mentorship conversation kind of happens, and Yo-Yo agrees to help guide Apple not only in her career, but as a woman. Lyrica, her best friend Sia, and Princess Love are all sitting down to talk about the A1 situation and motherhood. Princess Love even shares her experience with Ray J shortly after giving birth to their baby Melody, and basically just saying, yes, while I was pregnant or after I had my baby, we had some issues. We weren't as close as we should have been, and that also kind of allowed for other women to come in and manipulate the situation. Lyrica says that she lost herself in A1 and in her baby, and she just wants to get back to herself and get her marriage back. Her friend Sia says, well, A1's going to be here for a show, right? And you still haven't spoken to him. Pop up. Lyrica's buying in on that idea. Now that April and Moniece have cleared the air and they have an understanding, Moniece is ready for the next thing. Moniece invites April to the studio and goes, well, you're an artist, I'm an artist. Our baby daddies are out here making money together. Why aren't we making money? Let's let the baby mamas make some money. April says, girl, let's just take some baby steps, one step at a time. We cut to Yo-Yo, and she's in this kind of warehouse situation. It's like an aviation space venue, and she has a big announcement. And it is that the Yo-Yo School of Hip Hop is expanding. So they're not only going to be helping kids develop their craft or in the arts, but they're also going to help with aeronautical education or something like that, aeroscience. Apple Watts and Mr. Ray are there. Mr. Ray says that he has turned a new leaf. He's a better man, and he's just here to help Apple and support Apple. You know who's also in attendance? Miss Summer Bunny. And let's be clear, Apple is someone that rides for her friends. So no, Lyrica's not there, but she knows all about this Summer Bunny chick, and she's ready. Summer Bunny is introduced to Yo-Yo, and Yo-Yo's just kind of asking information about her. And Apple Watts is just kind of taking very subtle but direct jabs at her. So Summer Bunny is rapping, and then Apple Watts finishes her rap with a sexual innuendo that kind of alludes to her sexual prowess and her appetite for married men. Things go left from there. Summer Bunny is ready to fight. Now, what I do find funny is that everyone is calling Summer Bunny a knockoff Black China, and I completely see it. It's hilarious. Nevertheless, things escalate and Apple Watts quickly gets escorted out of the building. Yo-Yo is kind of disappointed because these are some of the things that she wants all women in general, not just Apple, but Apple and Summer Bunny to overcome. Women should not be going back and forth over a man, as well as just focus on your career. You cannot be out here in the streets fighting with everyone. K. Michelle is having a listening party for her new project, and Brittany B and her surrogate and family, as well as April and Moniece, are in the building. Brittany B is just there because, as we know, she says that she's a major person on a label, so why wouldn't she be there? But K. Michelle also uses this opportunity to introduce her surrogate and kind of her plans for her future to the audience. When the event is over, April, Moniece, Brittany B, and K. Michelle kind of congregate outside in the hallway area. April congratulates K. Michelle on this journey to motherhood, forgetting that K. Michelle has a son already. She's telling her motherhood is going to change you. And it's like, girl, she has a baby. What are you talking about? Her son's like 8 or 9, I think. Brittany B asks both Moniece and April what they do, and she's going a little bit harder on April. And I think it's because April has that stereotypical, ambiguous industry look where these girls say that they can sing, but in actuality have no talent. So Brittany B is going hard on April. Moniece also shares that she's invited April to go on tour with her, and K. Michelle, being, I think, a good friend and just a logical person, kind of discourages it immediately, calling it a terrible idea. But in true K. Michelle fashion, she has to be messy and goes, so Moniece is okay with you kissing Fizz? And Moniece goes, I literally do not care. I don't want him. That was refreshing to see because that could have easily blown up with K. Michelle out here trying to carry a bone. Brittany B and China meet in the studio, and Brittany B is talking about her tumultuous relationship with her mother. And so I really do feel like that's where she and China connect. But they also get back to talking about business and China wanting to be a rapper, what her direction is. And Brittany B says, well, I see more in you than I do in April. But it's also kind of like, of course, you're going to say that when you actually know China and you just met April. We don't get to hear any beats or any music, but China does encourage Brittany to repair her relationship with her mom. We cut to K. Michelle, and she and her surrogate are at a fertility specialist. She's already done all of the shots and she's gotten her eggs out, and they're supposed to be ready to be implanted. So they're actually checking to make sure the surrogate is in condition to accept the eggs and whatever the next steps are. What ends up happening though is the surrogate is fine, her body's fine, she's ready to go, but the doctor says they need high quality eggs, and that K. Michelle's eggs aren't necessarily the quality that they would like, which means that she needs to go through a whole new cycle of IVF, which is very daunting on the body, and she's not even sure if she's willing to do it again. We cut over to April's, and it's the morning time. She is ready to pop a bottle of champagne. She's making breakfast in a very slinky pajama set, and out strolls Fizz. Now, if this doesn't look like the morning after scene, I don't know what does. She says that they're not intimate, that Fizz just needed somewhere to stay because he's in transition in his housing. Someone pointed out on social media that Fizz is always in transition with his housing. They're talking about the tour, everything that's going on in each other's lives, and April kind of drops a bomb that Omarion has listed Fizz in their paperwork. From my understanding, basically saying that Fizz is one of those people that April has around, I guess like a revolving door of men. It's kind of alluded to, but in a very subtle way, because what other reason would Fizz be listed in her paperwork for? I think he's trying to use it as a point of instability as far as April's parenting. This episode closes with Mr. Ray celebrating his role. I think that he's A&R for a company, and of course, everyone needs to be there. So there's Yo-Yo, Apple Watts, Lyrica shows up late, and of course, Summer Bunny. So we see Summer Bunny over in the corner, and she and Yo-Yo had kind of already spoken. But then when Apple and Lyrica show up, Summer Bunny kind of starts to go off, right? Like Apple's not even really trying to engage her, but Summer Bunny clearly is defensive, and it's all things go. It's important to mention that before Lyrica and Apple Watts arrived, Princess Love and Ray J were there. And the second he was introduced to Summer Bunny, he's like, hey, you was with my boy A1. So maybe that's what had her senses heightened, so that when she saw Apple Watts and Lyrica, she was just ready to pop off. Of course, we can't get all of that drama in one episode, so they stop there and we see what happens next week. And last but not least, let's talk Basketball Wives. Kristen and Malaysia meet up at a trampoline park so that the kids can have a good time. Malaysia shares that she's recently purchased a home in Atlanta so her kids can be settled. That can be squared away. Kristen comes up with this great idea to have a 90s themed skate party. All of the ladies are kind of on good terms with the exception of her and Cece, and she's just ready to let bygones be bygones and let everybody have a good time. Jen, Jackie, and OG are going for a walk, and they're talking about what happened at Phoebe's event. OG says that Phoebe actually performed really well and she enjoyed the song and the show, but the person that she's most disappointed in is Cece, and it's because Cece didn't own the fact that she said those things about OG. OG's like, it happened forever ago. You didn't even know me. You and I weren't even friends. But just to flat out deny it when I'm looking at the text messages, it just kind of upset her a little bit. Jackie brings up some mysterious drama that Jen said some things about Malaysia and Malaysia's children. Basically that Malaysia's finances aren't in order, that her children are not taken care of, that she's never there. Just very random things. Jackie says that she got this information from a man, I guess his name is Austin, who hit her DMs in Atlanta, basically saying that he was in the room when Jen and Dominique were talking about Malaysia, and that's how he got all of this tea. Jen says she has no idea what you're talking about. She's never said that. Jen is pretty much prepared to dead the conversation. Cece and Byron are having, of course, their one-on-one couple time because that's the only time that we're actually really seeing Cece as a cast member these days. Byron is looking through Jackie Christie's sex book, which who knew that that was even a thing? And he's laughing, basically saying like, these are good tips, Jackie's wild. But they're also talking about his relationship with his children, which Cece wants him to actively repair. She is not trying to come in between that, but kind of cites that the situation between she and Kristen are totally separate. She also takes this time to tell him about some things that happened at Phoebe's party, mainly the text messages that Kristen brought up and brought to OG. It's kind of like one more strike against Kristen because you know that these text messages are old, and it's also making it look like you're just trying to keep shit going. He's definitely questioning Kristen's motives. Jackie invites Evelyn and Phoebe to a pole dancing class where Evelyn ends up giving OG the nickname Toji because of how her big toe was slipping out of the front of her peep toe shoe. You know, and the shoes are very high and they're kind of platform. Your feet kind of slide to the front, so her big toe was kind of hanging out. I digress. Evelyn nicknames OG Toji. Of course, they talk about Phoebe's showcase, how well it went, and then of course they have to talk about some drama. So they talk about Jazz, Tammy's daughter, helping her rap, which Phoebe says, well, it's great that her daughter's willing to help her because Tami kind of has that old school rap, or it's nice that she's trying to kick things off of her bucket list. Jackie says, oh no, you can't say that, it comes off as negative. And although Phoebe clears it up and says that she meant nothing ill of it, somehow that makes its way back to Tami in a negative way. Speaking of Tami, Evelyn can't help but drop some of this tea that Jen shared over lunch with she and Kristen that we got to see pieces of last week. The stylist says that they pulled clothes for Tami for a photo shoot and that Tami soiled the clothes so badly that the store or wherever they purchased it from wouldn't take it back. So that Tami actually had to purchase the clothing. But when she went to purchase the clothing, the credit card was declined. I personally don't know, like, what's the purpose of keeping someone who you claim that you can't stand, keeping their name in your mouth and actively searching out gossip on them. But it doesn't really make Evelyn look very good, to be honest. Jackie brings up the conversation with Jen that she had about the rumor that she heard that Jen had been speaking ill on Malaysia and her children. After they get all of this information, Evelyn takes it upon herself to call this person to get said gossip. The person is clearly a fan, but says that Jen shared this gossip and then Dominique got the gossip and started spreading it around Atlanta. Not very believable. Once again, I said clearly a fan. OG and Cece meet up to talk about the text message situation, and OG just says, I just want you to own it. I'm not upset at you. It's not going to end our friendship. I just want you to admit that you said it because it's all about accountability. And Cece does, and they're able to move on from it. Which, like I said last week, clearly this did not impact them simply because they're still hanging out, and I see it all the time on their social media profiles. Kristen, OG, Jackie, and Tami go costume shopping for this skate party. Tami is very upfront. I will not be in attendance. Of course, while they're costume shopping, the drama, the tea has to be spilled. So of course, Jackie goes back and tells the information about what Phoebe said about Tammy's age and rapping, which, like I said, gets misconstrued. So now there's an issue between Tami and Phoebe. Jackie also shares this very convoluted rumor that they say that Jen started about Malaysia's children. And of course, Kristen's there and she and Malaysia are family. Kristen doesn't want to be a part of it, but of course, it's going to have to get back to Malaysia somehow. A smaller scene includes Jackie and her daughter Chantel meeting up to talk about Dougie going off to college, her being an empty nester, and maybe changing Dougie's room into a nursery for Chantal's baby. Not important, just a little time filler. We cut to Tami and she's in an acting class. She's in the class to really work on giving Tatiana Trill this true alter ego London accent. She invites Phoebe and OG to come and sit with her so that they're able to hash things out. And that's one thing that I appreciate about Tami is that she's really grown. And so she's not necessarily attacking you, but she is moving forward with addressing things head on and not doing this telephone or this grapevine foolishness. Phoebe says immediately when she walks in, she can feel the mood and the tension, and she just wants to figure out what is going on. So when Tami asks her what's going on, Phoebe clears it up and says, that's not what I said. And she says exactly what she said. So then they're able to square that away. Well, Phoebe, while you're here, and clearly you're the only person that we're really going to get the truth out of as far as what's going on, tell me everything. Phoebe tells about the Toji situation, about the stylist, and I believe she tells about the rumor that Jackie keeps saying about Jen and this Malaysia and her kids situation. Tami is just completely turned off, and she states that she is done. She grabs her bags and she leaves. Jackie and OG go to a skate shop because, of course, you have to get ready for this skate party. You can't do that without having skates. And OG is telling Jackie about the conversation that Phoebe had with Tami to clear her name. Jackie's upset because now she's back in the hot seat and feels as though Phoebe lied. So it's keep her away from me. On the flip side, Phoebe and Evelyn are taking a walk and they're discussing the exact same thing. It's the day of the skate party, and of course, we're going to close out with some drama. But let's run down the outfits, right? Evelyn is Peggy Bundy. Malaysia is Gabrielle Union and Bring It On. I cannot remember the character's name. And then Kristen and Phoebe are both Ashley Banks. Kristen pulls Malaysia off to the side and has the conversation about the whole dirty kids situation, which, let's be clear, the guy on the phone never said that Jen or Dominique said that the kids were dirty. It was kind of implied, but that wasn't exactly what was said. So it just shows how a game of telephone, things get added, things just get convoluted and completely misconstrued. Malaysia is immediately upset and is ready to confront this head on. So when Jen and Dominique arrive, she walks up on them, asks them. They are very confused and they clear the air. So now it's time for Malaysia to confront Jackie. Now, when Jackie walks in, she's very laid back. Hey, y'all, I'm ready to skate, blah, blah, blah. I got to go to the bathroom. And Malaysia's like, did you say this about my kids? And she's like, no, what are you talking about? And they kind of start rehashing everything that's been said over the course of, I guess, the last few days. But Jackie just says, well, I have to go to the restroom. We can talk. I actually need to talk to a few of you ladies, but I have to go to the restroom first. Malaysia is not trying to hear that, and that is kind of where things escalate. Jackie is all up in her face. She's all up in Jackie's face. Security has to get involved. Jackie has somebody that's her best friend there. He's talking about, you're not going to be all up in my friend's face like that. It just goes haywire. And of course, that's where they leave us hanging. And that wraps it up for this week's episode of Reality Check This Week in Rewind. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow me on social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, so that you're always a part of the conversation. And I can't wait to see you next week. Bye. This video has been Queenie B approved. Thanks for watching. But don't stop there. Let's head on over to Instagram and Twitter and keep the conversation going. I'll meet you there. Bye-bye.